Hello, this is Okabilo Tricks again, and welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to have a very important conversation, and this is mainly for nurses in Nigeria and other parts of Africa, um, or by extension, other parts of the world who intend to move to places like the UK to practice and pursue a career abroad, and the challenges they are facing, and what could be a way out. First of all, we now know that especially for nurses in Nigeria, that so many of them have done their IELTS and passed, and done their CBT and passed for over a year now, but they're struggling to find jobs in the UK. And even when they do find jobs, they get the unfortunately email, and they are turned down, and not many of them are getting explanations for that. Not necessarily because the hospitals or trusts owe them elaborate explanations, but because it's not easy. You don't have, if you have 50 job openings and you have like 2,000 applications from all over the world, and you end up taking 50, and you have 1,950 to respond to, then I mean, there's a limit to how much explanations you can give to. That's a lot of people to communicate and explain things to, you know. So I understand that. But the problem is these nurses have been ready. They've done all they are supposed to do to qualify them to get these jobs, but these jobs are not forthcoming as they used to be. And there are, so many questions are raised. What's going on? Why? Is it that the nurses are no longer adequate? Is it that the hospitals and trusts are no longer interested in these countries or in these people? What is going on? So one is, I remember some time ago, there was an explanation that came up that some African countries, for instance, Nigeria, has been red listed by the World Health Organization. And red listed because, according to the narrative, it was said that so many nurses have been taken from Nigeria. And so the World Health Organization was concerned about brain drain. So that's how it was interpreted, that it was brain drain. And I saw an article. That article was written in the UK, and that article said that it's not clear to them whether nurses are living on their own, out of self will, or whether they're coerced. And I found it really interesting, and that's a polite way of saying funny, because the truth is, I don't know if that was investigated or not, but the truth is, nurses have always made their moves out of free will, out of their own volition. They are not never coerced to move out of one country to another. No, never. They move out of their own interests. Why do they want to move? Maybe they are pursuing better economic value. Perhaps they are pursuing more reward for the amazing work they do. Perhaps they are trying to practice where they are more respected, where they are more regarded, where they are more rewarded, where they can learn more, where they can find better career progression. I mean, these are, to the best of my knowledge, these are the main reasons why nurses migrate. In fact, nurses have not been forced to migrate; they've only been forced to stay. So no, nurses from Africa, places like Nigeria, are not leaving Nigeria to practice other places out of coercion from external forces. No, that's not remotely possible. In fact, there's a problem right now that the nursing body in the country is trying to use machinations of the law to make them stay. So they're indirectly being coerced to stay, you know. So, but that's by the way. Why are they not getting these jobs? There might be a bunch of reasons. Now, I'm going to be speaking very indirectly in this, um, because I'm neither the government nor the nurses in Nigeria. I'm just an observer, okay? So there might be a bunch of reasons, and they're all subject to investigation. or subject to inquiry and verification. Investigation sounds quite serious. Okay, so one is that many hospitals might be sticking to the previous narrative that Nigeria is on a red list, and they very well might be. And they are trying to avoid getting into trouble with international organization or international healthcare principles and standards. So they're shying away from areas where they are considered to be pandering to brain drain and then going to other places. That's one. Two, there might be insufficient funding because international recruitment is very expensive. It costs a lot, trust me, for an organization to sponsor you. So there might be lack of funding, maybe with the global economic situation. So there might be lack of funding to carry out the onboarding of the nurses being hired from all over the world or specific places, as it were. Thirdly, on an individual level, there might be a few things that you're not doing right, but that's, in my opinion, the least of the problem, because otherwise, how come so many people are having the problem for such a long time and these problems did not exist before now? Okay. And the fourth reason might be that they probably don't want people from specific areas. The reasons might be totally different from the reasons I've mentioned. Maybe they think they've gotten enough people from these areas and they need to look elsewhere, out of maybe diversity, equality, whatever. I'm not going to make any assumptions. So I've identified 4 things, but I'm not going to end this video without proffering solutions. So let's start from the one that you the nurse can control, and that one is your application. So this video is not to teach you how to apply, but it's to just give you general ideas. Make sure you have a very good personalized personal statement. It's called personal statement for a reason. It is your personal statement. It articulates your professional personality and your professional history, your professional experience, and your CV as well. Okay. But the first thing the employer interfaces with is your personal statement. Okay. Before your CV, usually. Okay. So make sure your personal statement is very personal. Okay. Don't go and copy someone else's personal statement and use it. And these are the things, please pay attention to this. These are the things that they can observe on a large scale. Say, for instance, and people from certain parts of Africa are fond of making these mistakes. If 50 people are applying to one hospital for a job and there are very, very, very significant similarities in their personal statements, it raises a red flag. Like, are these personal statements written by one person? Is it copy and paste they're doing? It dwindles the validity of these people. It makes them look down on you. It makes them, find your whole application suspicious. It makes them not trust you, basically. So personalize your personal statement. Is your personal professional history. Okay, articulate it well. Also, pay attention to the job description, the trust values, and see how your history and your professional personality aligns with that. If it does, then you taper your personal statement according to those values and according to the requirements for that application. No two applications are exactly the same. Say, for instance, if an oncology ward in a hospital with certain values, okay, are looking for a nurse with specific skills or experiences, okay, it's not important to them what experience you've had in midwifery because they're not looking for a midwife. So you have to adjust your personal statement application per application. Okay? Adjust it to what they need. If it fits into it, then you focus on how it fits into what they're looking for. They're not interested in everything you've done. They want to see how what you have done will benefit what they're looking for, if that makes sense, guys. So pay attention to that. Articulate it very well. That will give you an edge. In any case, so many trusts and hospitals, as we have observed, are no longer hiring from Nigeria, for instance. But some are still hiring. How do I know? Because nurses from Nigeria are still moving to the UK anyway, right? So it is your job to find out. I'll just direct you to something really simple you can do. So, say if your friend has moved to the UK, ask them where do they work, which trust hired them, when were they hired, and maybe when you search for jobs, you can focus on the trusts that are hiring and not waste your energy on the ones that are not. Okay, because that's how discouragement kicks in, right? And frustration kicks in, and then you might stop. So find out, channel your energy properly. At the end of this video, I'm going to, from inquiries and findings I've made, I'm just going to maybe show you some hospitals or trusts that have hired Nigerians recently. Okay, and maybe you can focus on where you are wanted and not just apply everywhere. Okay, there's no point applying to a trust that clearly doesn't want to hire you, or doesn't have the capacity to hire you, or doesn't have the funding to hire you, or they're interested in somewhere else. There's really no point. Okay, um but if you know where, again, pay attention to, there are very important clauses in applications. If a trust or a hospital is interested in sponsoring people from abroad, they make it clear. They mention that they offer tier 2 visa or COS, or sponsorship. So look out for that. Don't just throw applications around. Okay, check if you're looking through indeed.com, um, NHS jobs, just look out for those things. When you see the adverts, check, do they offer tier 2 sponsorship? So you don't just apply and waste your time. Check those things. Okay, um so I'm going to show you a few. I'll just flash a few places that have hired people recently from Nigeria, for instance, and maybe you can try those ones amongst other options that you have. Okay, um yeah, it's getting tougher. Things were a lot easier 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And I also think that because so many nurses have been hired from Nigeria and from Africa, that some of these employers might think that they are saturated with people from certain places, even though it doesn't make sense, because um, people from some other places are more in each facility, in each hospital or trust, than people hired from Africa or Nigeria, for that matter. So it doesn't make sense to me. That point doesn't hold water. But it might still, an employer is an employer. Their decision is their decision. There, you can't detect for them. You can't tell them what to do. You are not the employer. You don't run the organization. They do, and they have the rights to make those choices based on what they think is important to them or necessary at time. So you don't. I mean, you can feel bad about it, but it's still not your shot to call. You know, no matter how we feel about it. And finally, the new rule in Nigeria at the moment, I think, is going to change. I hope it changes. But I think it's unfair. Why do I think it's unfair? Because it's not done anywhere in the world. There's nowhere in the world, there's no country in the world where nurses specifically, are mandated to work in their home country for a specific number of years before they are permitted to leave. That sounds like coercion to me. It's very coercive, because nursing is not the only profession that exists. There are so engineers are not expected to work in their home country for a certain number of years before they can leave. I mean, I don't understand why that amount of control is exerted on nurses and maybe doctors specifically. It's very, very unfair. In Nigeria, after your NYSC, after your degree, if you studied nursing at a degree level, you are mandated to do internship and NYSC. NYSC is 1 year compulsory service, national service. After doing that, I think you should be free to make your own choices. You should be free to make your own decisions, especially regarding where you want to practice. And with what people are paid, which is horrible, um, people will naturally want to leave. Now, if you want people to stop living, well, maybe do something about what people are paid, Do something about how nurses and doctors are regarded in the country. Do something about their welfare. Maybe introduce insurance. Maybe make policies to make private hospitals pay nurses what they are worth anyway, and not what they can afford. If they cannot afford to pay nurses, then they cannot afford to exist as hospitals. If they cannot afford to pay doctors well, then they're not fit to exist as hospitals in the first place. And then eliminate quacks in the profession. Stop hospitals from, training quacks. And what I mean by training quacks, not licensed nurses, training people, uh, training in quotes, people who have no business in nursing, who didn't study nursing anywhere. You just show them how to give injection and they don't even understand the rationale, and you use them as quasi nurses and quasi doctors. In fact, I don't even call them, they call them Elizabethan nurses or Nurse Eliza, or quack nurses, but I don't call them quack nurses. I call them quack doctors. This might offend doctors, but it's true. They are quack doctors because who trains them? The doctors train them. Doctors in private hospitals train them. So they are assistant doctors. They are, even though they wear nursing uniforms and camouflage as nurses, but they are really quack doctors because they are trained by doctors, not by nurses. And they are certified by doctors. Doctors give them certificates that is not a substitute for any license or any legal nursing certificate anywhere in the world. And by the way, that's why they are not able to, work in state hospitals or, or get nursing jobs anywhere other than where they are or in Nigeria, as the case may be. These are the things that contribute to the devaluing of nurses and doctors in Nigeria. And these things need attention. These are things that the nursing body need to um, focus more attention on rather than controlling the decisions um, of innocent and devalued nurses. And to international organizations and nurses abroad and hospitals or establishments, health establishments abroad, it's important to make it clear that nurses are not forced to leave Nigeria. They are forced to remain, and that's not what they want. They should have the freedom to decide what they want to do and chase their career wherever they deem fit, if they can. I don't think government should interfere in that. I don't think uh, healthcare governing bodies or licensure bodies should use their powers to force the hands of nurses. It's unfair and brutal, I would say. I don't know anywhere in the world where there are conditions of compulsory work in the home country. In countries where nurses are, I mean, in Nigeria, nurses are not sponsored by government to study nursing. Nurses are not allowed to study with government loans. So they are not giving loans. They paid out of their pockets and they paid 100% of their tuition fees. They literally owe the country nothing as individuals, because they are not repaying anything. They paid government in full for the education they received. Therefore, they should have the freedom to move. And when they do move, they contribute massively to the country. I mean, we all contribute. We love our country. We all contribute. We send a lot of money that we back home that we would not be able to afford to 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 give to the people back home if we were working in Nigeria. You know, many of us, if we are working in Nigeria right now, we can barely afford to feed ourselves and our immediate families, let alone helping other people. But we are able to do much more than that because we have access to more resources and more rewards for the job we do, for the amazing job we do. And so the country ends up even benefiting more when nurses leave than when they remain. I don't think they interpret it like that, but that's the reality. Foreign direct investment is there as proof for this. So it's such an unfortunate time, and it's heartbreaking that people who have suffered through um, the difficult years of university or diploma uh, education in nursing schools, obtained their licenses, are now being forced to remain by several instruments, both local and international. I think it's really, really unfair and needs to be revisited for the purpose of fairness. And to all the nurses back home, I want to genuinely encourage you guys to keep working hard. Wherever you are working right now in Nigeria, in the hospital, in any facility you're working, whether you feel fully appreciated or not, still give your best. The profession is a very noble one. Um, it is a very noble one, and there will never be any excuse or enough excuse to not give your best or to offer care at the standard that is required by your profession. Nursing is largely humanitarian as well, so still give your best. Um, you know, hold your shoulders high, encourage yourselves, seek support where possible, and keep giving your best to your facility, to your country, to humanity. And you'll get what you deserve eventually over time. Keep working hard. Whatever you are doing to change your situation or your circumstances, if it requires exams, give it your best and do those exams. Verification, payments for exams and verification and all whatnot. Save. Do not be spendthrift. Save money. Um, do what you need to do to make your life better, your future better, and the future of your family who have supported you so much, and society and your country, Nigeria, that we all love very dearly. I wish you all the best. And next, I'll just show you a few places that I know have hired from back home recently, and you could give it a shot. And remember what I said about your personal statement. Please work on it, make it personal. No one can interpret your professional history better than you. So do your personal statement. You can give someone to vet your grammar, your English, but let not someone else write your personal statement as though they are you. Okay? So please pay attention to these things. Your credibility and honesty is very, very important. Honesty is a very big thing in this profession. And that's why we are trusted. That's why we are some of the most trusted people on this planet. Nurses and doctors are some of the most trusted people on this planet because of the requirements of the profession they're in and the kind of oath we take. So I wish you all the best. I genuinely love you guys. And this video is purely for you guys. Okay? I wish you all the best and see you at the top.